Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an absolutely incredible story of digital conquest. We're unpacking a mobile game that didn't just succeed, it literally took over the globe. We're talking about Free Fire, and more importantly, the absolute masterclass in cross-platform accessibility, emerging markets, and business strategy orchestrated by its visionary founder, Forrest Li. So, if you want to understand how a product achieves true global scale by leaning into accessibility rather than, pure hardware power, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Today we're going to be covering the billion download phenomenon, explaining the core Free Fire mechanics, seeing how they mastered emerging markets, tracing the rise of the Garena empire, and finally, meeting the father of Free Fire.
Starting with Section 1, the billion download phenomenon.
1 billion. That is a staggering number. Since it launched back in September 2017, Free Fire has completely shattered records, officially surpassing 1 billion global downloads. Think about that for a second. A significant percentage of the entire human population has actually downloaded this game onto their phones. But, it's not just about the downloads. What makes this truly phenomenal is that this free-to-play game has generated over $1 billion in lifetime revenue. It is genuinely one of the most successful mobile games ever created.
Moving right along to Section 2, Free Fire Mechanics Explained. For the non-gamers hanging out with us today, let's break down exactly what this product is and why it's so incredibly addictive. Free Fire is what's known in the industry as a multiplayer battle royale game. The core gameplay loop? It's super simple, but man, it's engaging. It acts just like a pressure cooker. First, you've got 50 to 60 players parachuting out of the sky onto an island. Next, they have to hit the ground running, frantically scavenging for weapons and survival gear. And here is the absolute genius part. The map constantly shrinks. It physically forces players closer and closer together into these really intense engagements until literally only one person or one team is left standing. This high-stakes survival loop is exactly why it became an absolute massive hit for mobile users.
Now, what's really interesting here is how these specific features perfectly addressed a massive gap in the market. The simple controls make it casual and approachable for anyone. And the cross-platform matchmaking, that means friends on iPhones can seamlessly play with friends on Androids. No friction whatsoever. But the real kicker is the quick drop-in sessions. These matches are fast. They were intentionally designed for mobile gamers who might only have, say, a 10-minute window while commuting or taking a coffee break. It's high engagement, low time commitment. You can literally jump in anywhere.
All right, Section 3, Mastering the Emerging Markets. This global business strategy was an absolute masterstroke. Forrest Li basically saw what traditional gaming companies were totally missing. While everyone else was building these heavy, demanding games that required really expensive phones or high-end PC setups, Free Fire went the complete opposite direction. They looked at regions like Southeast Asia, where mobile esports was just starting to boom, and they meticulously optimized Free Fire to run perfectly on low-end mobile devices. They didn't build for the hardware tech companies wished consumers had. No, they built for the devices people actually already owned. And that laser-targeted approach, that's what fueled their massive global success.
And they coupled that technical optimization with a brilliantly fair economic model. On one side of the gaming industry, you have these frustrating pay-to-win mechanics that completely alienate players who can't afford to just buy power. Well, Free Fire chose a different route. It's completely free-to-play, and they monetize through optional cosmetic upgrades. We're talking cool outfits or weapon skins, stuff that never, ever interrupts or unbalances the actual gameplay. This fair, accessible approach builds massive trust, and it's exactly how they retained their incredible player base over the years. They drove player retention simply by keeping the community happy, which ultimately led to that $1 billion in revenue.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, building the Garena empire.
Because Free Fire didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It's the flagship product of a massive corporate powerhouse called Garena. Tracing the strategic evolution of this company is super fascinating. Forrest Li's journey didn't just kick off in 2017. Back in 2000, he was building online gaming platforms at a company called DoingNet. By 2003, he realized the sheer potential of online gaming in Southeast Asia and co-founded Zorf to bring massive multiplayer games to the region. Fast forward to 2009, he incorporates Garena. And then in 2012, they hit a huge milestone, securing the publishing rights for League of Legends in Southeast Asia. Over a decade, Forrest Li systematically built them into the absolute largest game publisher in the region.
And this brilliantly illustrates that Garena is definitely not a one-hit wonder. They are a true global tech powerhouse. Like we said, they were the regional backbone for League of Legends. They published Free Fire, which was developed by 111 Studio. They even operate Call of Duty Mobile. Managing top-tier global properties right alongside their own massive successes proved they had an incredible track record. And honestly, it easily justified their 2021 US IPO filing, which valued the company at a cool $1 billion. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the father of Free Fire.
Behind the billion downloads and the multi-billion-dollar company is one visionary founder, now leading a global staff of over 5,000 people. Forrest Li was born in Singapore in 1980, and his story, well, it's a highly relatable underdog narrative. He didn't have an easy path. In fact, he struggled heavily with dyslexia as a child, which made traditional academics incredibly difficult for him. But he had this deep fascination with computers. He persevered, overcame those childhood hurdles, and actually graduated from the National University of Singapore at the age of 21 with a computer science degree. He took those early struggles and basically forged them into an unbelievable work ethic.
It was Liz Stellar's stewardship that earned him the widespread title, Father of Free Fire. He's the one who truly drove the product-market fit. He identified those massive gaps in emerging markets, he championed that strict low-end device optimization, pushed for constant updates to keep players coming back, and absolutely insisted on a fair, accessible monetization strategy. Simply put, he built the environment and the resources that allowed Free Fire to thrive on a global scale.
Forrest Li conquered the gaming world by looking at reality. He optimized for the low-end devices people actually had in their pockets, rather than the expensive setups that tech companies wish they had. It completely changed the trajectory of mobile gaming. So I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder. What untapped market or overlooked reality are you missing in your own industry right now? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out and learning with us today, and we'll catch you on the next Explainer.